Did you know that each one of us has 4 levels of intuitive knowing that we can cultivate and that we can tap into in order to live a life that's more connected, more harmonious, and in flow with the universe? Stay tuned to learn more. Hey there, Yogi. I'm Lisa Engles Witter, and welcome to my channel, where I help spiritual seekers to become spiritual finders and to live an extraordinary life by harnessing the ancient wisdom of yoga. Now, the goal of this channel is super simple. It's really just to make it easier than ever before for anyone to find happiness and fulfillment and flow in their everyday life by using the wisdom teachings that have already been handed down to us for millennia. Now, before we hop in today, I want to be sure that you know about a new workshop that I'm hosting for free. It's called the 2022 Resolution Solution. If you've been using the law of attraction but not manifesting the results that you had hoped for, or if you've worked really, really hard on changing your beliefs and still you find yourself stuck, or if you've used all of those goal setting and intention setting techniques and tools out there, but they don't seem to be helping you in the long run, then the 2022 Resolution Solution is for you. I am going to be teaching you how to manifest like a mystic so that you can finally find freedom from that suffer and struggle mode and start creating a life of ease and flow and harmony. And I put the link in the description below this video so you can learn more and sign up. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the little notification bell if you haven't already, because I post new videos just like this one on a regular basis. According to yoga wisdom traditions, each of us has 4 levels of intuitive knowing that we can cultivate and that we can tap into in order to live a more connected life, a more harmonious life, a life that's more in flow with what life wants from us, with what the universe wants from us. So in yoga wisdom tradition, our intuitive knowing, the deepest knowing that we have, leads to wisdom. Now, this is really different than what we've been taught. Most of us have been taught here in the West, where wisdom is equated with intellect, right? Conceptual knowledge, reading books, and so forth. But in yoga wisdom, it's very different. It's all about intuitive knowledge, and that our intuitive knowledge leads to true wisdom. So before I get into these 5 levels of intuitive knowing, I want to make this really, really important distinction. And that distinction is that here in the West, we think of the mind and the emotions as these 2 separate things. And you often hear of it referred to as like, oh, listen to your heart and not your head, right? We call it the heart and the head here in the West. So in yoga wisdom tradition, the difference between our mind, which is our thoughts, and our heart, which is our emotions, is that our thoughts have vibrations, or are a vibration energy that have more of a linguistic component to them, and our emotions are an energetic vibration that have more of a feeling component to them. But they're literally in yoga wisdom thought to be the same thing, but just on different ends of a continuum, or different ends of a spectrum. So what's interesting is that, and this is a little bit of a side note, is that in recent years, there's been this big trend, especially here in the West, to validate our emotions or our feelings over our thinking. So we have this idea that if someone is rational, that they're sort of labeled as being out of touch with their emotions. They're not emotionally intelligent. And this can become, and has become, very, very dangerous. And it's been part of the cause of the post-truth era that we live in right now. It's become part of this whole phenomena where the truth equals our feelings, not facts, right? So we need to be very, very careful about that. In yoga wisdom traditions, both thinking and feeling are equally valued. And so we're encouraged to live a life that's in balance between our feeling and our thinking. Now, in yoga tradition, our deepest intuition is actually a non-emotional intuitive faculty of consciousness. It is beyond our thoughts, it's beyond our feelings. So in yoga, when we say listen to your heart, we're not talking about listening to your emotions. We're talking about listening to this non-emotional faculty of consciousness. And it's called pratibha. So pratibha is this inner wisdom and knowing that's beyond our emotions. It's beyond our thinking. And in yoga tradition, it transcends our intellect because it goes beyond our ego. It goes beyond our limited aspect of ourself. So how do we know the difference between our emotions and our pratibha, that intuitive sense that goes beyond that egoic sense of self? Well, the interesting thing is, and we'll talk about this in just a moment with the 4 levels of intuitive knowing, but pratibha is a steady, quiet pull either towards or away somewhat from someone or something. There is not an impulsive or compulsive need or attachment with pratibha, with intuition. Whereas our emotions, our egoic emotions, often or always, I will say, have an impulsive, compulsive pull towards them. There's almost always a need to justify or defend ourselves. And oftentimes, again, we confuse what intuitive knowing is with our emotions. We think, oh, I'm so justified, I'm right. Like the emotions and the ego want to defend themselves, but true intuitive knowing has no agenda like that. It doesn't try to defend itself. In fact, sometimes our intuitive knowing will lead us in a way that we might not, our ego might not want. So, and you might find this or be able to find examples that are true for this for yourself. And what we find, it's very interesting, is that when we don't follow that intuitive impulse because we're thinking, I don't want to leave this relationship, or I can't give up my job right now. Even though our deepest intuitive knowing is saying you need to go now, but our ego is saying, but I can't because this is the only way I can get love, or I can't because this is the only way I can get the money that I need. Well, in the end, your intuition, your pratibha, it knows what's best for you. And eventually you'll get there and you'll be, somehow that relationship will end, or somehow that job will end, or whatever it is for you. So the key point here is that intuition is your highest form of knowledge. It's your highest form of knowing of your true self, but it has to be cultivated. Just like we have to cultivate our intellect by reading books, we cultivate our intuition through our spiritual practice. And so that's what I want to talk about now, are the 4 levels of intuitive knowing that we all have within us. And the first level of intuitive knowing is the level of intuition of our body. And we all have access to this level of knowing. This level of knowing is experienced as physical sensations. It's what we would call the grossest, crudest form of intuition that we have, just meaning that it's accessible to all of us. It's very easy to access your physical intuition because it's a felt sense in the body. Like, have you ever had the hair on your arms stand up when something sort of freaked you out, right? That's an intuitive knowing that's being expressed directly in the body, or you feel butterflies in your stomach, or your heart, better one might be even that your heart starts pounding really hard when you're nervous or excited or anxious or panicked, right? These are all physical expressions of intuition. So that's level 1. And we can all access, you don't need any practice to access your physical intuition. But as we get into the next 3 levels of intuition, you do need practice for these. So the second level of intuitive knowing is intuition at the level of your subtle body, at the level of your prana. And this is hard to experience, pretty much impossible to experience unless you go into a meditative state. Now, it doesn't take a lot to experience intuition at the level of your subtle body, but it is the movement of prana and life force through your body. So it can be experienced as a tingling, a warmth, or a cooling, or a movement of a flow of energy. We have what is referred to as the central channel in yoga tradition, but all Eastern traditions refer to this central channel, the Sushumna. And so you can actually cultivate through certain practices, including certain types of breathing, breath work, pranayama practices. You can experience this subtle flow of energy through these channels. And sometimes when you're experiencing the level of the subtle body, you'll have colors might appear to you, sounds might appear to you, but this is different from having visions and images. Okay, but it is intuition at the level of the subtle body. You can feel into what is the life force that's moving through the body telling you. So that's the second level of intuition. The third level of intuition then is the level of intuition of the mental body, of the mind. And this is where we have visions and images that may or may not make sense to us. And it's really the level of intuition of the mental body is dependent on our ability to concentrate and focus. Otherwise, it's going to remain fairly undeveloped. Now, maybe you've had times where you've gone into meditative states and you've had random and sporadic images appear to you. But when you've begun to cultivate and develop this level of intuition, it's not random and sporadic images that appear to you. The images that appear to you they make complete sense to you. And they are all of this is under the control of your own concentration, your will, your focus. So at this level of intuition, you've been able to go into a meditative state and completely withdraw your own consciousness from the body. So there's a sense of being very separate from the physical body when you're tapped into this level of intuition. All right. So then that takes us to the final level of intuition, which is sort of where we began our conversation, this level of intuitive discrimination, direct knowledge of the truth, direct experience of intuition, this non-emotional intuitive faculty of consciousness, pratibha. So as you can see, it requires us to cultivate intuition at each of these levels in order for us to truly cultivate a connection with pratibha, with this direct intuitive knowledge. And what happens in pratibha, the experience of pratibha is, again, as I mentioned before, is it's beyond the mind, it's beyond our egoic wanting and striving and struggling. It's beyond the emotions, so there's no real emotional quality to it. It's just the experience of still, quiet, spaciousness. That is the experience of pratibha, of this intuitive level of knowledge, of discrimination. And it's from this level of intuition that you will have keen discernment of the truth of any situation, circumstance, or event, the truth of who you really are. So in yoga wisdom, it's very important that we take the time on a regular basis to cultivate our intuition at all of these levels, at the level of the body, at the level of our prana or our subtle body, at the level of our mind, so that we can eventually access the level of intuition at that direct level of intuitive knowing, because that is where wisdom lies for all of us. And the other thing to know about this is that each of these 4 levels of intuitive knowing are not separate from each other. As you start to do practices and cultivate each of these levels of intuition within yourself, one form of intuition may be present or be experienced in another form of intuition. So, for example, in meditation, you might start to experience not just an energetic flow, perhaps, of the prana moving through your body, but you might also see subtle lights, or you might hear subtle sounds, and you might get some type of intuitive image or vision with it. So each of these levels of intuitive knowing, as you develop, they start to merge with each other. So what happens is that when we cultivate these 4 different levels of intuitive knowing, is we become more connected with the natural flow of life, allowing what wants to emerge in us, through us, as us, instead of struggling to make things work in our life. And all master yogis understand how to tap into all 4 levels of intuition so that they can live a more authentic life. And you can do the same too. So if you're interested in learning more about cultivating this intuitive wisdom, I really do encourage you to sign up for the 2022 resolution solution, because that's part of what we'll be talking about and what you'll be learning, and some specific practices to do that in this particular workshop. And again, all of the details, the link to get more information and to sign up are below in the description. So I'd love to know what you think about this video. Go ahead and leave a comment below. I read all of the comments. I respond to the comments. And until next time, be safe, be well, and namaste.